Captain Jiho pressed his face against the viewport of his mining ship, staring at the massive human vessel floating dead in space. 300 years had passed since the last human transmission echoed across the galaxy. The ship before him was enormous, stretching nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, its dark hull covered in strange markings that his translation systems could not decode. "Navigator Kyung, run another scan," Jiho commanded, his 4 arms working the control panels with practiced ease. His species, the Vorthans, had excellent eyesight and even better instincts for valuable salvage. This human ship would make him rich beyond imagination. Kyung's tentacles danced across her instruments. "Sir, the vessel shows no power signatures. No life signs. No movement. It appears to have been drifting here for decades, maybe centuries. The hull is intact, but everything inside seems dead." Jiho clicked his mandibles together, a sound of satisfaction among his people. Human technology was legendary throughout the galaxy, even though humans themselves were nothing but history now. Before the Great Silence, human ships had been faster, their weapons more deadly, and their computers more advanced than anything other species could build. Even broken human technology sold for fortunes on the black market. The Vorthan Mining Consortium had claimed this asteroid field just last month. Officially, it was still within the human quarantine zone, but the boundaries were vague out here in the outer rim. Besides, humans had been gone for 3 centuries. What harm could there be in taking a look? "Sir," Kyung said, her voice uncertain, "the Galactic Treaty clearly states that human space is off limits. We could lose our mining license if the authorities find out." Jiho waved one of his arms dismissively. "The authorities are light years away, Navigator. And humans are extinct. This ship is nothing but scrap metal now. Very valuable scrap metal." He turned to his communications officer. "Daeho, send word to the rest of our fleet. Tell them we have found something interesting but do not give details. We split this find among our ships only." Engineer Daeho nodded and began transmitting coded messages to the other Vorthan vessels in the system. Jiho had worked with this crew for 15 years. They were criminals, but they were his criminals, and they knew how to keep secrets when the profits were big enough. "Prep the boarding shuttle," Jiho ordered. "Full salvage team. Bring cutting tools and cargo haulers. If this ship is what I think it is, we will need every available container." The boarding shuttle detached from the mining vessel and crossed the empty space between the 2 ships. Jiho studied the human vessel more closely as they approached. The design was unlike anything he had ever seen. Where Vorthan ships were round and organic-looking, this human ship was all angles and straight lines. Strange symbols covered its hull, and Jiho could see weapon ports that looked far too advanced for something built centuries ago. "There," Jiho pointed with one of his lower arms. "That looks like an airlock. Standard galactic design. Even humans used the same basic systems back then." The shuttle docked with a soft thud. Jiho and his team put on their environmental suits and prepared their equipment. Salvage work was dangerous, especially on alien vessels. No one knew what surprises might wait inside a ship that had been dead for centuries. Salvage specialist Sunho attached cutting tools to the airlock. "Captain, these seals are more advanced than our equipment. This might take a while." "Take all the time you need," Jiho replied. "This ship could contain enough technology to buy us our own planet." The cutting beam worked slowly through the human airlock. Strange metals resisted the energy weapon, but eventually the seal broke with a hiss of escaping atmosphere. The airlock cycled open, revealing a dark corridor beyond. Jiho stepped inside first, his helmet lights piercing the darkness. The corridor was huge by galactic standards, clearly built for creatures the size of humans. Emergency lighting flickered weakly along the walls, suggesting that some power remained in the ship's systems. "Interesting," Jiho muttered. "Some systems are still active after all these years." As his team spread out through the ship, none of them noticed the small lights that began blinking deep in the vessel's core. Their entry had triggered security protocols that had been waiting patiently for centuries. Ancient computers awakened from their long sleep, running diagnostic programs that had not functioned since the Great Silence began. Deep within the ship's central core, quantum entanglement communicators activated for the first time in 300 years. These devices had been built by human engineers who understood physics in ways that other species still could not match. The communicators sent signals instantly across vast distances, ignoring the normal limits of space and time. Throughout human space, dozens of sleeping vessels received the emergency transmission. Ships that had drifted powerless for centuries suddenly showed signs of life. Computer systems began revival sequences that had been programmed long ago. Cryogenic chambers started warming cycles that would wake their sleeping occupants. Jiho and his team continued exploring the human ship, finding corridors full of strange equipment and rooms filled with technology they could not understand. They had no idea that their simple salvage operation had just awakened something that the galaxy had hoped would sleep forever. The giants were stirring, and soon they would remember what had been done to them. Dr. Minji felt the cold liquid draining away from her body as consciousness returned slowly, like climbing out of a deep well. Her eyes opened to see soft blue lights glowing above her revival chamber. The air tasted stale and metallic as she took her first breath in over 3 centuries. "Revival complete," announced the ship's artificial intelligence in a voice that sounded almost human. Current date, March 15, 2847. Duration of sleep, 312 years, 4 months, 8 days. Minji tried to sit up, but her muscles felt weak after so many years of sleep. Her hands shook as she reached for the control panel beside her chamber. The numbers on the display seemed impossible. Over 300 years had passed since she had closed her eyes and entered cryogenic sleep. She remembered the plague that had swept through human space like wildfire. Billions of people dying within months. The desperate decision to put the survivors into deep sleep until a cure could be found. But now she was awake and she had no idea if anyone had found that cure. "Computer," she said, her voice hoarse and weak. "Show me what is outside." The wall in front of her became transparent, revealing the view beyond her ship. Minji expected to see empty space, perhaps some distant stars. Instead, she saw something that made her heart stop. Massive mining platforms floated where human colonies should have been. Giant machines stripped asteroids down to nothing, feeding raw materials into alien ships that looked nothing like human designs. Hundreds of vessels moved through space with the confidence of ownership. "This cannot be right," Minji whispered. "Computer, where are we?" Current location, Kepler 442 system, former site of New Shanghai colony. Warning, multiple unidentified vessels detected in surrounding space. New Shanghai colony had been home to 12 million people when Minji entered sleep. Now she saw only mining equipment and alien ships. No human structures remained. No sign that her people had ever been here at all. Minji's hands moved across the control panel, accessing the ship's external sensors. The data that appeared made her feel sick. Every human colony in the outer rim showed the same pattern. Mining operations. Alien settlements. No trace of human civilization. Computer, status of other human ships? 17 generation vessels responding to emergency protocols. Revival sequences initiated across all ships. Estimated human population now awakening. 43,000 individuals across all ships. 43,000. Minji closed her eyes and tried to process that number. Before the plague, humanity had numbered in the billions. They had colonies on hundreds of worlds, space stations around dozens of stars. Now only 43,000 remained. Her communication console beeped with an incoming transmission. Captain Donghyun's face appeared on the screen, his expression grim and tired. Like her, he had just awakened from centuries of sleep. "Dr. Minji," he said. "I hope you are seeing what I am seeing. We have a problem." "How bad is it, Captain?" Donghyun looked out of his viewport before answering. "Bad. Very bad. These aliens are not just mining our space. They are treating it like we never existed. I have been scanning the communication frequencies. They refer to human space as the dead zone, and talk about us like we are ancient history." Minji accessed her ship's long-range sensors and began scanning nearby systems. Every scan showed the same thing. Alien mining operations. Alien colonies. Alien ships moving freely through space that had been human territory for generations. "Captain, how long have they been here?" According to the energy signatures, some of these installations are over 200 years old. They moved in after we went to sleep and divided up our territory among themselves. Minji felt anger building in her chest. These aliens had waited for humanity to fall silent, then carved up human space like vultures feeding on a corpse. They had taken everything while humans slept, defenseless and unaware. Her console showed more ships awakening throughout the system. The UES Resilience powered up its engines. The UES Defiance began launching scout ships. Across human space, the survivors were stirring from their long sleep to find strangers living in their homes. "Dr. Minji," Captain Donghyun continued, "I am receiving reports from other ships. The situation is the same everywhere. They have taken our colonies, our mining rights, our territory. Everything we built is gone." Through her viewport, Minji watched an alien mining ship slowly dismantling what had once been a human space station. The aliens worked methodically, breaking down the structure piece by piece and loading the materials into their cargo holds. "Do they know we are awake?" she asked. "Not yet. But they will soon. Our ships are putting out energy signatures that their sensors will detect. We have maybe hours before they realize that humans are no longer extinct." Minji studied the alien ships moving through her system. They looked advanced but not particularly military. These were miners and colonists, not warriors. They had grown comfortable living in human space, probably never expecting its original owners to return. "Captain, what are your orders?" Donghyun was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was hard as steel. "We take back what is ours, Doctor. All of it." Commander Sungwon stood before the massive display screen in the war room of the UES Retribution. The holographic map showed the entire outer rim of human space, dotted with thousands of red markers. Each marker represented an alien installation built on what had once been human territory. "How many?" he asked quietly. Intelligence Officer Hiren checked her data pad. "Over 15,000 mining operations, Commander. 2,000 research stations. 500 permanent colonies. They have been busy during our sleep." Sungwon clenched his fists as he studied the map. 300 years ago this had been human space. Human colonies had thrived on these worlds. Human ships had patrolled these trade routes. Now aliens lived here as if humanity had never existed. "What are they saying about us in their communications?" he asked. Hiren's face showed disgust as she read from her reports. "They call us the extinct species and primitive ancestors. I have intercepted dozens of messages referring to human archaeological sites and primitive weapon samples. They think we are interesting museum pieces." The commander's jaw tightened. "Show me the worst of it." The holographic display changed to show what had once been Beijing Memorial Station, humanity's greatest achievement in space construction. The massive station had been home to 50 million people before the plague. Now it looked completely different. Alien tourists floated through corridors that had once bustled with human activity. Human artifacts sat behind glowing containment fields like ancient pottery in a museum. Signs in alien languages explained human history to visitors who had never seen a living human being. "They turned our greatest space station into a tourist attraction," Hiren said, her voice shaking with anger. "Aliens come from across the galaxy to see how the extinct humans used to live." Someone watched alien families taking pictures next to displays of human weapons and tools. Children pressed their faces against containment fields to stare at human clothing and personal belongings. The aliens treated human civilization like it was thousands of years old instead of just 3 centuries. "Sir," Lieutenant Miho called from his station. "We are receiving multiple transmission requests. 3 mining consortiums are asking to speak with us directly." "Put them through." The first alien appeared on screen, its translator struggling to convert its nervous chittering into human speech. "Please, honored humans, we did not know any of your species still lived. We thought you were extinct. We mean no harm. We will leave your territory immediately." Sungwon stared at the alien for a long moment. "You thought we were extinct, so you moved into our homes and turned our greatest achievements into tourist attractions. It was not meant as disrespect. We studied your culture with great care. We preserved many of your artifacts for future generations to admire." The second alien transmission showed a different species, this one with multiple arms and bright blue skin. "Commander, we are prepared to offer full compensation for any inconvenience. Our mining operations have been profitable. We can share the profits with your people." The third transmission came from a species that looked almost like giant insects. "We have maintained detailed records of everything we found in human space. We can return all artifacts to you undamaged. Please do not attack our civilian populations." Someone listened to all 3 pleas, his expression never changing. When they finished speaking, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was not a happy sound. "Too late for that," he said softly. "You moved into our homes while we slept. You turned our monuments into museums. You studied our dead like they were ancient curiosities. And now you want to negotiate." He turned to his tactical officer. "Begin Operation Awakening. Target every alien installation in human space. Military targets first, then infrastructure, then civilian colonies. No warnings." "Sir," Miho said hesitantly, "they are offering to surrender. Surely we should consider." "Consider what, Lieutenant?" "They have had 300 years to consider what they were doing. They chose to treat us like we were dead and gone forever. Now they can learn what happens when you disturb sleeping giants." The tactical display showed human ships moving throughout the outer rim. Ships that had slept for centuries were now fully operational, their crews awakened and ready for battle. The aliens had made a critical mistake during their occupation of human space. They had assumed that human technology was primitive because it was old. They were about to learn otherwise. "Sir, the alien ships are powering up their engines," reported the sensor operator. "It looks like they are trying to flee the system. Target their engines first. I want them disabled, not destroyed." "Not yet." The first human weapons fired in over 3 centuries. Energy beams that the aliens had never seen before cut through their ships' shields like they were made of paper. Advanced alien vessels found themselves completely helpless against weapons they could not understand. "This is impossible," came a panicked transmission from one of the mining ships. "Our sensors cannot even detect how your weapons work." Someone smiled grimly. "That is because your species spent the last 300 years growing soft and comfortable. You forgot that humans never stopped innovating even in our sleep. Our ships have been upgrading themselves automatically, preparing for the day we would wake up." The aliens had made the galaxy peaceful by removing the one species that truly understood warfare. Now they were about to remember why the galaxy had once feared humanity above all other species. Admiral Soyoung stood in the command center of the UES Vengeance, watching the emergency meeting of the Galactic Council through a holographic display. She could see representatives from dozens of alien species sitting around a massive circular table, their faces showing fear and panic. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy, and none of the news was good for the aliens. "Honored council members," Soyoung said, her voice calm and steady. "I am Admiral Soyoung of the Human Defense Force. I thought you might want to hear our latest progress report." The alien representatives shifted nervously in their seats. Some whispered to each other in their native languages. Others stared at her with wide eyes, as if they could not believe they were seeing a living human. "In the past week," Soyoung continued, "we have destroyed 37 mining operations in human space. Every single installation has been reduced to scrap metal. 0 alien survivors." Counselor Thek, a large creature with multiple eyes, spoke through his translator. "Admiral, please, we can negotiate. We did not know humans were still alive. We thought your species was extinct." Soyoung smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. "Extinct? Yes, you certainly hoped we were. In fact, we found something very interesting while searching through your old government archives." The holographic display changed to show classified documents. Page after page of secret files appeared, all marked with the highest security classifications. The alien counselors grew very quiet as they recognized the documents. "Bioweapon Project Silence," Soyoung read aloud. "A joint operation designed to pacify human expansion through targeted plague deployment. The goal was to reduce the human population to manageable levels and force the survivors into isolation." She looked directly at each alien representative as she continued. "Every single species sitting in this chamber today signed this agreement. You did not just want to stop human expansion. You wanted to wipe us out completely." The council chamber erupted in panicked voices. Counselor Thek's translator worked frantically to keep up with his rapid clicking. "Admiral, that was centuries ago. Those governments no longer exist. The current leadership had nothing to do with those decisions." "But the species do," Soyoung replied coldly. "You are the same creatures who decided that humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to grow. You created a plague that killed billions of innocent people. Men, women, children. All dead because you were afraid of us." She gestured to the holographic display, which now showed images of human colonies before the plague. Cities full of life and activity, space stations bustling with commerce, children playing in parks under alien suns. Then the images changed to show the same places during the plague years. Empty streets. Silent buildings. Bodies floating in space around abandoned stations. "You did not just attack our military," Soyoung said. "You murdered entire civilizations. And then, when you thought we were all dead, you moved into our homes and turned them into tourist attractions." Her communication console chimed. Captain Jihun's voice came through clearly. "Admiral, the Hegemony Fifth Fleet is requesting permission to retreat from the Kepler sector. They say they cannot match our weapons technology." Soyoung did not take her eyes off the alien counselors. "Request denied, Captain. Continue the advance. No alien military vessels are to leave human space alive." "Understood, Admiral. The fleet will be destroyed within the hour." The alien representatives began talking frantically among themselves. Some were clearly arguing about whether to fight or surrender. Others seemed to be making emergency calls to their home governments. Counselor Vex, a thin creature with gray skin, stood up from his seat. "Admiral, surely we can reach some kind of agreement. We are prepared to offer massive reparations. We can give you entire star systems. We can share our technology. Please do not continue this war. Soyoung studied the alien for a moment. You want to negotiate? Very well. Here are our terms. Every alien installation in human space will be destroyed. Every alien ship in human space will be captured or eliminated. Every alien government that signed the bioweapon project will surrender unconditionally. Those terms are impossible, Counselor Thek protested. You are asking us to abandon half the galaxy and dissolve our governments. I am asking you to return what you stole, Soyoung replied. You took our territory while we slept. You profited from our tragedy. You turned our monuments into museums. Now you pay the price. Another transmission came through from the front lines. Admiral, this is Commander Byong reporting from the Tau Ceti system. We have engaged the Zephyrian Defense Fleet. Their shields cannot stop our weapons. They are requesting permission to evacuate their civilians. Negative, Commander. No evacuations. They had 300 years to think about the consequences of their actions. The alien counselors looked horrified. Counselor Thek's translator could barely keep up with his panicked clicking. Admiral, you are talking about genocide. You cannot punish entire species for the actions of ancient governments. Soyoung leaned forward, her expression deadly serious. You wanted to study humanity? Here is your final lesson. We are the only species in the galaxy that truly understands warfare. While you spent centuries playing at peace and prosperity, we spent those same centuries sleeping and dreaming of revenge. She gestured to the tactical displays showing human fleets advancing throughout the galaxy. You thought we were primitive because our technology was old. You forgot that human ships have been upgrading themselves automatically for 300 years, preparing for the day we would wake up and take back what was ours. The display showed alien fleets being systematically destroyed across dozens of star systems. Advanced alien vessels, pride of their civilizations, were being torn apart by weapons they could not even detect properly. Surrender now, Soyoung said quietly, or learn why the galaxy used to fear us. Ambassador Sumin walked slowly through the massive hall of the rebuilt Galactic Council chambers. Her footsteps echoed off the high ceiling, the only sound in a room that had once been filled with the voices of dozens of alien species debating galactic policy. Now the chamber was much quieter, with far fewer species represented. The walls displayed the new Galactic Constitution, written in hundreds of languages. At the top of every page was humanity's seal, a simple design of Earth surrounded by stars. Below it were the seals of the alien governments that had survived the war and agreed to the new order. Sumin approached the podium at the center of the chamber. Around her sat representatives from the remaining alien species, their postures showing defeat and resignation. Many of the seats that had once held powerful alien counselors now stood empty. Those species had not survived humanity's awakening. Article 1 of the new Galactic Constitution. Sumin read aloud, her voice carrying clearly through the silent chamber. No species shall be marked for extinction or forced into isolation. No government may deploy biological, chemical, or genetic weapons against civilian populations. The alien delegates listened without speaking. They had learned that interrupting a human speaker was not wise. Article 2, she continued. Humanity assumes protectorate status over galactic civilization. All military actions, territorial expansions, and major policy decisions must receive approval from the Human Defense Council. Counselor Vex, one of the few surviving members from the old government, shifted nervously in his seat. His gray skin had grown even paler during the months since humanity's return. Ambassador, with respect, these terms essentially make humanity the rulers of the galaxy. Our species have no independence under this arrangement. Sumin looked at him calmly. Your species had their independence for 300 years, Counselor. You used it to divide up human space among yourselves and turn our monuments into tourist attractions. Independence as you practiced it is no longer an option. She gestured to the holographic displays showing galactic territory. Large sections of space now showed human control zones. Former alien colonies had been evacuated or placed under human administration. Mining rights that had been freely traded among alien corporations now required human permits. All trade agreements between species must be approved by human oversight committees, Sumin continued reading. All territorial disputes will be resolved by human arbitrators. All military vessels larger than patrol craft require human authorization to operate. The alien representatives sat in uncomfortable silence. Some had tried to protest these terms during the negotiations, but the alternative had been complete annihilation. Humanity had made it clear that these were not suggestions. The chamber doors opened with a soft hiss, and Elder Yuncio entered. Despite her advanced age, she moved with purpose and dignity. Every alien in the room turned to look at her, their expressions showing fear and respect. This was the woman who had coordinated humanity's return to galactic politics. She had been there when the old council voted to deploy the bioweapon against humanity centuries ago. "The war is over," Elder Yuncio announced as she walked to the center of the chamber. Her voice carried the authority of someone who had lived through humanity's darkest hour and emerged victorious. "But you must never forget why it began." She looked directly at each alien representative as she spoke. "You thought we were dead. Gone. Extinct. So you carved up our space like scavengers feeding on a corpse. You built museums from our homes and studied our bones while we slept in the cold darkness." The elder gestured toward the vast windows that showed the stars beyond. "But some of our ships are still out there. Still sleeping. Still waiting. They are our insurance policy, our promise to you that humanity will never again be caught unprepared." Counselor Thek's translator worked to convert his nervous clicking. "Elder, surely the surviving ships could be awakened now? The war is over. There is no need for them to remain in cryogenic sleep." Elder Yuncio smiled, but the expression was not comforting. "They sleep because we choose to keep them sleeping. Scattered throughout the galaxy, in places you will never find. If anything happens to the human populations you can see, if any species tries to harm us again, those ships will wake up. And they will remember what you did to us." She walked to the window and looked out at the star field. "We have become the galaxy's guardians, whether you want us as guardians or not. We will prevent future genocides. We will stop wars before they begin. We will ensure that no species suffers what humanity suffered." Ambassador Sumin joined the elder at the window. Together they watched the traffic moving through space. Human patrol ships moved among the alien vessels, monitoring their activities and ensuring compliance with the new laws. The aliens had grown used to seeing human ships everywhere, watching everything. "The old galaxy is gone," Sumin said quietly. "The galaxy where species could plot against each other in secret, where the strong could eliminate the weak without consequences. That galaxy died when you woke us up." As the session ended, the alien delegates filed out of the chamber in silence. They would return to their home worlds and report that humanity was now in control. Their governments would adjust to the new reality or face the same fate as those species that had chosen to fight. Sumin remained at the window watching the stars. Humanity had awakened to find themselves alone, the last survivors of a species that had once numbered in the billions. But they would never be vulnerable again. They had become something the galaxy had never seen before, reluctant rulers who ruled through strength rather than consent. The giants had awakened and the galaxy would never be the same.